Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we are back for round number three, for the Moss Landing fire status that is happening. That actually happened last night. So last night we were able to jump on the streams. By the way, thank you so much for anybody who stuck around last night. It was fantastic. We had really good questions that we were able to answer. We had some people coming in with very, very good questions. And we actually had a guest towards the end of the night, which is a very, very knowledgeable person. And it is absolutely fantastic. So today there's a press conference finally, because last night we were waiting for the press conference to really begin, and we were just kind of seeing the updates, what's happening on the news. And basically around 4 p.m. yesterday in Monterey County in Moss Landing, the largest lithium-ion battery plant got caught on fire. The origins of the fire is unknown. The fumes that it was putting out is very toxic. Today's shirt is Got Gas by Seaburn Kim Bio-Rad Nuclear, because we were talking about the very toxic gas that was lithium-ion batteries were releasing it. And Cup is a house is not home without a cat. Yay. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for hanging out last night. And today, the press conference actually happened already at 10, but we decided to wait for a little bit, an hour and stuff. Plus, it's morning time. I needed my morning coffee, my morning shower, play with my doggies. This is Sunflower. And now we are getting back to the press conference. Let's see, let's get this show started. I hope everybody's morning or night is going good today, because I got plenty of sleep and I like it. I got really, really deep sleep. It was nice. It was nice. Okay. Let's play this. Let's see what's going on over there at the Moss Landing Fire Information Press Conference on January 17, 2025. Okay, let's fast forward this a little bit. We don't have to watch this whole thing. There it is. Load. Hopefully the connection this time around will be better than yesterday's connection. Because I don't know, I think it was because of late at night, everybody's trying to either stream or game and I tend to overload our grid. Really, guys? Come on. Play. Just play. Yeah, I think it tend to really overload our grid, and the area that I live, it's kind of out, a little bit out of the main towers and everything. So sometimes you don't get the greatest connection. Like right now. I honestly don't think it wants us to watch this today. The press conference. Why not? Oh, all right.
The County of Monterey cares deeply about the health and safety of every.
All right, let's start from the very, very beginning.
I'm going to talk loud because unfortunately we can't turn on the podium mic because of all these mics here and interference. So hopefully you all can hear me. My name is Nick Pascoulia. I'm in the County Communications Communications Director and
Well,
Chief
let's
Public
see if we
Information
can
Officer
turn it
for the
up a
County
little
of
bit.
Monterey. I want to thank you all for, first of all, your help in us to get our messaging out to the community. It is so important that we get timely, accurate, and transparent information out to our community, our residents, and all our stakeholders. The County of Monterey cares deeply about the
Let
health
me
and
know if you
safety of every
can
resident
hear
of this
this.
county, and we stand here united in that effort. I also want to thank especially the residents of the affected areas. They helped us so much in making an orderly evacuation of the affected area. Some 1,200 to 1,500 individuals. The area accounted for about 7,600 acres of land where the evacuations took place, and the evacuation was orderly and safe. I also want to be thankful and grateful for the fact that there have been no injuries or deaths as a result of this incident, and that is something truly to be grateful for. And we can certainly thank our first responders and all those people in our Emergency Operations Center for ensuring the safety of this entire community. Everyone from law enforcement to fire to public works to our IT department to every department within the county, social services, the health department has been working tirelessly since late yesterday afternoon when we were first notified about this incident. We sprung into action immediately following the notification from North County Fire, which Chief Mendoza will go into more detail later. Our EOC, our Emergency Operations Center, was activated to a level 2, which is the second highest level in our emergency operations system, fully staffed with county staff and partner agencies from around the county. I also want to thank all our partners throughout the county of Monterey with mutual aid that came to our assistance, including fire and law enforcement, state and federal agencies. We have we have compiled a tremendous team to address this very serious and important issue. This morning, you're going to hear from a number of speakers who will talk about specific areas of their expertise with regard to this incident. But our first speaker today is going to be Supervisor Glenn Church, who is the supervisor of this district, of District
I bet
2
these guys are
for the
so
County of
tired.
Monterey and North Monterey County.
They're
Supervisor
up all
Church.
night.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I think this is best be, best be described as a worst case scenario of a disaster that's happened here. Nobody predicted anything on this line, and this is really a lot more than just a fire. It's really a wake up call for this industry. And if we're going to be moving ahead with sustainable energy, we need to have a safe battery systems in place. There are a lot of questions from the residents in my district and the communities surrounding here, and they want to know why this happened. They want to know how it happened and what can be done to prevent it from the future. And while our immediate concern is really safety right now, and the other speakers will be addressing that, it's not really too soon to look ahead. There must be accountability for this, and there will be accountability. We need to get the information out, and it needs to be transparent and it needs to be clear. Now, I understand, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, the need for these batteries and to creating a sustainable, climate friendly energy source. And I had a lot of people in my community over the years ask, why do we have batteries over here in Moss Landing next to an environmentally sensitive area of the Elkhorn Slough
Yeah,
and
why do you
Monterey
have
Bay, of
batteries over
course?
there? Hey, Kirsuma.
That is because the infrastructure is there. And I think the people in the community need to know why this is something that was set up and formed here. And it's because the infrastructure is there because the 1960s and 1970s, when Pacific Gas and Electric was running this facility, this was actually the major producer of electricity on the West Coast. It produced more electricity than all the power plants in LA. And so the infrastructure was there to bring this in, and that's why it is there. But it needs to be safe. As we move forward to a more sustainable energy source and this transition that's going forth, this transition cannot and will not come before the safety of our families and our environment. And that really has to take the priority at this point more than anything else. This is the fourth fire at that site since 2019. There are
Ooh,
two battery operations going
fourth
on there, and both of them have had
fire. That's
fires, and this
crazy.
has got to be the last one. I myself was personally assured, and I know with other county officials too, that this was not going to happen. But there was safety protocols in place. Well, obviously that failed, and I think that just shows the nature that nobody knows really what we're dealing with
Yeah,
here
three
anymore.
is too many. Wait, one is too
And the
many.
importance of it is we got to learn it a lot more about it. We got to go through and set up safety protocols that are more effective at the local level, at the state level, the federal level, at the private level. This never should have happened. And so there is obviously some gaps going on here of information. There's some gaps going forth here on safety. There's gaps going here that are going to take some time to understand, but there's got to be lessons that are be learning from this.
Random player. Welcome, welcome.
And there really needs to be a full independent investigation at all levels on exactly what's happened here, because this is the largest fire of this type that there's ever been, and this is a growing technology, a growing industry. And as I stated, about the importance of accountability, that really just isn't enough. There needs to be an open conversation. We need to listen to people, their concerns, and this needs to be transparent and out to everybody. This is really a 3 Mile Island event for this industry. If renewable energy is going
Mm,
to be a future, it really
well, I
has to
guess
rest
yeah.
on
For
three
this
pillars.
industry, yeah,
And I'm not going to
it is the
rest
largest
and believe
largest
this until I know that we have
lithium-ion battery plant in the world.
a safe environment, a safe operation over in the Moss Landing area. Thank you. Turn it back to you, Nick.
Thank you, Supervisor Church. I failed to mention we will allow for questions at the end of the speakers. Now I'd like to introduce to you Chief Joel Mendoza of the North Monterey County Fire Protection District. Chief Mendoza.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank the County of Monterey and our mutual partners that have assisted this small fire department with this very large event, as you've heard. We're a small fire department with 3 fire stations and 34 firefighters, and an event of this magnitude has stretched us thin, and I'd like to make that clear. I'd like to start off with a brief synopsis of what occurred yesterday and today, and then I'll give an update on how we're looking today, this morning. So, yesterday at approximately 3 o'clock, the fire department got a call for a structure fire response at 7301 Highway 1, which happens to be the Vistra power plant. We had a typical response for a structure fire. Our first unit on scene arrived and found that there was smoke out of the building, and we did find at least one battery on fire. That triggered a whole bunch of notifications and my response as well. I arrived on scene, assumed command, and met with the Vistra staff.
No, so for all the new people in here, so no, it did not just start. So the press conference actually started at 10, and we're just watching the just a review of it. Uh, but the fire started last night, so that's why he was talking about the sequence of events that happened. And he just mentioned that once they arrived on site, because there was some smoke coming out of the building, once they arrived on site, they realized that one battery was on fire. So let's continue on.
The plant managers to try and assess the situation. After confirming that there were batteries on fire, we then began our summons for additional help from the county resources. So we summoned for district coverage from our mutual aid partners, and we summoned for help at the actual incident from Department of Emergency Management The sheriff's office was originally dispatched, and environmental health. Excuse me. I can tell you that we worked very well together. We've done
So
this
this is Monterey
before.
County, California,
Every one of these departments
Moss
performed
Landing.
as they should. We did a lot of work. There was a lot of guessing work that had to be done. There is cameras in the facility, but some of them were not working uh, due to the intensity of fire and smoke and superheated gases. Um, Roughly about an hour and a half into the incident, conditions changed drastically. I can tell you that there is in this particular facility a fire suppression system that is a part of every one of those battery racks, and it is fed by an on-site system. Uh, in other incidents that we've had, like was mentioned earlier, that system has worked perfectly. In this particular case, that system was not sufficient. It was overridden, and that led to fire uh, overtaking the system and eventually overtaking the entire building.
Hmm.
We made the decision very early on to notify the public of the event. And shortly after, we closed highways, roadways, and asked that Department of Emergency Management, along with the Sheriff's Office, put out a request for mandatory evacuations. So we manned this particular fire all night long. Uh, we saw this fire grow to an intensity, and I am happy to announce that at this point, most of that fire has gone out. If I could
That's
look
good.
at a schedule from 0 to 100, uh, 100 being the most active flame that we saw, and particulates of combustion that were being released into the atmosphere, that occurred last night, roughly 8, 9, 10 o'clock. This morning, I can tell you that
And we
we're
were live
probably in the
streaming that
vicinity of
too
1 to 5%. We have
at that
very little
time.
active flame. We have very little products of combustion being put out into the atmosphere. There's a lot of questions regarding monitoring. We put in a request for a hazardous materials team immediately when we got on scene. We also put in a request through the Department of Emergency Management for monitoring from the US EPA. All of those take a while for us to get those resources to the scene. However, overnight we did get the EPA, and in addition, Vistra had monitoring equipment on site that was able to monitor. I can happily report that the information that was given to me, which is preliminary at this point, but out of that information that was given to me, there was no hazardous. There's an HF gas, hydrogen fluoride gas, that is emitted from these batteries that is a dangerous gas. At no point did I get a report back that there was any of that being picked up by any of the monitors. Again, this is preliminary. We'll have reports that the EPA will give us, and which I believe should be made available at some point. At this
Okay, well that makes sense because we were actually looking for the different air monitors last night to see if it picks up any kind of inhalation hazard, but the air was pretty clean, so that's a really good note. The fact that he pointed out, and hopefully all of that smoke here. I'm gonna show you. I'll show you the picture of actual fire. Yeah, it was pretty devastating to watch, and then seeing or here, um, actually seeing the fire itself. So this has happened last night, and all of that smoke right here, and then we were just thinking like this is could be the very toxic inhalation hazard, and but yeah, it seems like it didn't pick up. So that was good. That was a good confirmation. Hopefully they do a little bit more testing and there's no decon around the area needs to be done, or people didn't get inhalation hazard, which is that's what we are hoping for, right? All right, let's continue on with this.
point, This is preliminary, and we don't have those. Again, the fire when I left it this morning at right around 8:30 was doing
Well, we are
significant
going to
area.
believe it
We burned hot for a long time, and at this
because
point, it was smoldering. And like
they're
I
not
said,
making
I
it
would say between
politicized
1 and
or
5%
doing it anything
if we were
else.
to look at the large scale
We're just
damage.
listening to press conference,
Um,
whatever they're
Thank
putting
you.
out
I can
information.
answer questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Mendoza. Appreciate your comments today. Now I'd like to introduce to you Monterey County Sheriff Tina Nieto. Sheriff Nieto.
And I'll be joined by Captain King from the CHP to talk about road closures. So, as Chief Mendoza said, I want to thank him and his team, Cal Fire. They did a wonderful job. The sheriff's office was dispatched when the initial call went out. We had personnel there from the beginning. As this event started to grow, I was notified. My executive team responded. We started making notifications throughout the county. I want to thank the Department of Emergency Management. The incident command was originally in Moss Landing. As an incident grows, such as this, then what happens is you go into a unified command, and that brings in all our stakeholders, with fire being the lead in this incident because it's a fire. When we did put out the evacuation warning, I want to thank our state and federal partners, but our local partners. We evacuated the evacuation area.
No, I don't think I don't think they said that these batteries don't produce these harmful gases. They said that they didn't detect lethal or not lethal. They didn't detect the amount of harmful gases released into the atmosphere. That's what they said. But it does produce these harmful gases. So let's get a little facts a little bit straight over here.
Affected about 1,200 residents in the Moss Landing area. We were assisted by the California Highway Patrol, Monterey PD, Pacific Grove PD, Marina PD, and California State Parks. However, all our local law enforcement agencies participated in some point working on this incident. We reached out to Santa Cruz. We reached out to the new sheriff in Santa Cruz, Chris Clark. He reached out to his people, and we brought Santa Cruz into the incident to make some decisions as best as we could, because we knew that last night the wind patterns were pushing the smoke plume up towards the Santa Cruz area. What we can say is that when we did the evacuation order, and we're not going to lift it, it's still in effect, and we would hope that residents would listen to the evacuation order. We have some preliminary numbers, as Chief Mendoza talked about, that the gas was not released, that will be a danger to the public. However, we're waiting for more advanced monitoring systems to arrive before the
There you
county
go.
comes
Then
forward
that
with an
just answered your
advisory
question
committee
too.
to lift the evacuation order. I just want to thank the public for listening to the orders. We do that for your safety. We are dealing with a lot of unknown, as Supervisor Trick
Wait, hold on a
mentioned.
second. So then why wouldn't the company itself have those high end testers, the toxic gas testers on in their facility, or at least outside surrounding the facilities, which is should be one of the safety measures that they have to monitor air quality. So
Talked about with these lithium fires. These are new territory that public safety are going into as we move towards clean energy. So we would rather err on the side of caution, so that nobody's hurt. And as they reported earlier, we had no injuries last night to public safety or to the public. And hopefully this afternoon we'll be able to lift the evacuation orders again once we get the more advanced monitoring systems out there to give us the A-OK with the medical personnel. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Captain King, who is the commander of this area. Sir?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Captain Nicholas King from the California Highway Patrol Monterey area office. I'm just going to discuss the three closures that we had last night. We started off with 6. We were able to reduce it down to minimize the impact on the public. So currently we have closures on the going southbound on State Route 1 at Struve Road, on going northbound on State Route 1 on Malera Road, And to the east, we have a closure at Dolan Road and
I'm
Russo.
sure it's probably
People
because of the
can get around
availability
that,
of
can take
those
other major routes such as State Route
systems,
129 to the
and
east,
it
State
that
Route
did happen
183.
late
There's
last
other
night,
roadways
so it
available to you.
takes a little bit of
So
time
we,
to actually get up
in
and
keeping with the
being able to
evacuation
assign
order,
them, and I have no idea
we're
where
going
they're
to turn
coming
your
from,
way if you want
and
to
what
help
if their
assist
systems are
to
actually
ensure
utilized somewhere
everybody's
else right
health
now.
and
So
safety. We're all
we just never know
unified
with
behind
them about this one.
that one goal. So people that are find other means to get around. There's other resources. If you need medication or what have you, we're not going to be letting you through until it's safe for people to actually be in there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you to our law enforcement partners. I'd like to introduce now Brad Watson from Vistra Energy. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Nicholas. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brad Watson. I'm the Senior Director of Community Affairs at Vistra. Thanks very much for the opportunity to participate in the news conference today. At the outset, and on behalf of Vistra, we would like to say, first of all, that we're very grateful that no one has been hurt. We're also thankful for for the first responders, all of them who were involved, Chief Mendoza and his firefighters with whom we have worked with many, many years, also Sheriff Nieto and her department, Kelsey Scanlon and the emergency management team, and of course, Supervisor Glenn Church and his staff. Safety is Vistra's top priority. The priority of safety for our staff, our facilities, and the communities around those facilities, and the environment. Vistra and its predecessor companies have been a long-time good corporate citizen here. We consider this home as well. We belong to this community and we are involved in this community as well. Our company takes very seriously what happened last night, and we are hurting today because we know primarily it's impacted and disrupted the people who live around our site, our neighbors, our friends, and businesses. And for that, we are sincerely sorry. We want to now to listen to residents, Supervisor Church and his staff, other local officials, on how people have been impacted by this event and consider ways to provide assistance to them. Vistra does business the right way, and we will stand by that. As I said, safety is our top priority, and we've heard the comments last night and this morning of residents and officials about the concern about air quality from what happened at our facility. In addition to what the EPA is doing, Vistra has arranged for an outside consultant named CTE.
Of course, Debbie. That's what we're
They're
here
experts
for.
in air quality monitoring, especially every day related to events like this. I'd like to bring up here now Pete Ziegler. Pete is our regional vice president at Vistra, who oversees the entire Moss Landing
It
power
could be
plant
failure of
and
logistics.
storage
It
facility
could
site,
be
but
human
also a
error
little bit
or
about
non-availability of
exactly
those
what
testing systems.
CTEH will be doing as an outside consultant to do this air monitoring and collaborative effort we look forward to ahead. Pete?
Thanks, Brad. So yeah, just a couple of things, and Chief Mendoza has already touched on this. Just to take a step back, immediately following the fire that started, we began monitoring with our internal team, our environmental health and safety team.
His
We
batteries.
began
It's LG
monitoring
batteries. It's not Tesla
precautions
batteries. Well,
immediately.
still doesn't
Since
matter.
that time, we've actually had, in partnership with the North County Hazmat team, and our outside resource,
Elon Musk.
and really to work together. We're actually working, our resources working outside in the community, and the EPA is working actually closer to the site, and we're sharing our findings. We're sharing all of our everything, our
I'm trying to
findings,
see if I can
to
find
make
that
sure that
tweet.
we have a complete analysis of really just what is occurred, what has occurred since the onset of the event. As Chief Mendoza said, up until this morning's briefing, nothing has been found. It is preliminary, but we will continue to work, collaboratively with all those resources, so that we have a full picture for the community. And as we have done before, we will make those very public. As Brad mentioned, We do business with our communities. We care for our communities, and we believe you deserve all the information that we have. And we will disseminate that as soon as we have all that information shared.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Chief,
found
and
it.
we'll be glad to take questions at the appropriate time.
Yeah. Lithium ion
Thank you very
batteries
much.
is you can't
I'd like to
recycle them
introduce
either.
to Randy Ishii, who is our Director of Public Works, Facilities, and Parks, to talk about the efforts of his department throughout the evening in this event. Randy?
Thank you, Nick, and good morning, everyone. As introduced, I'm Randy Ishii, Director of Public Works, Facilities, and Parks. County Roads has been asked to support our first responders through this crisis, through this disaster response that we're performing. Many of the county road closures have been performed by county road crews throughout the course of the onset of the request for closures, which was proximate to the time of evacuation orders, and then subsequent future road closures were made later into the evening. We ask the public to continue to be apprised of the publicly available information of road closure statuses on the county's road closure and information page, available on, here again, the Monterey County webpage. And there are some other sites that are using that information as well to update their either wayfinding apps, or they are using our GIS layer to update their information. For the state controlled facilities, such as State Route 1, State Route 129, State Route 183, those are available on Quick Maps, which is hosted by Caltrans. So for the condition of state-controlled facilities that usually have a number associated with their name, please go to the Quick Maps page. Starting off, in terms of the status of the road closures, we were called out to provide assistance to our law first responders for the evacuation order area. We instituted road closures relatively immediately in the county roads, and the state partners instituted those on the state facilities. And as we mentioned earlier, there were roads that needed to be closed later into the evening that could have potentially accidentally led people not familiar with the area into the evacuation order or the evacuation warning areas. With regards to the closures, these closures remain in place. We ask the public for their patience. We implore the public to obey the signage. When the sign says road closed, please obey the road closure signage. And as we go through the course of this incident, our collaboration of the first responders and public safety officials will continuously be
I'm
meeting
gonna
to
speed this
discuss
up just a little bit.
mitigation, which may also include the lifting of road closures. So again, to be apprised of the status of roads being closed or not, please continue to look at the road closure information page posted on the county webpage. We will be available for questions here at the end. And with that, I hand the floor back to our county PIO.
Thank you, Randy. And that county website is countyofmonterey.gov. And also for information about the incident, you can go to readymontereycounty.org. And so those are two important websites for you to have. I'd like to introduce now our last speaker,
Hmm.
Kelsey Scanlon, who's our Director of the Department of Emergency Management. Kelsey?
Yay, love seeing women
Thank you.
in
I would like to take a
in
moment
higher
to
up roles.
acknowledge all the first responders who stayed overnight to keep an eye out on the fire and to continue suppression efforts. I'd also like to thank the communities of Moss Landing and Elkhorn Slough. I greatly appreciate the opportunity that they've to serve them during this disaster. First and foremost, the protection of life, property, and environment is and has always been and will continue to be our greatest priority. And we do not take that responsibility lightly by any means. At approximately 3:30, the North County Fire Protection District requested support from the Department of Emergency Management. We were able to provide support on site at the Incident Command Post. At that juncture, we also activated the Monterey County Operational Area Emergency Operations Center to a level 2. I do want to acknowledge that our ability to provide the very rapid and exhaustive resources that we were able to mobilize is a direct result of a significant and very mindful and strategic investment from the Board of Supervisors in the Department of Emergency Management over the past several years. At approximately 5 p.m., an advisory was sent through the Monterey County Emergency Alert System at the direction of North County Fire Protection District, advising the surrounding community of a potential threat to life and safety. At approximately 6:30 p.m., at the direction of Unified Command, the Department of Emergency Management disseminated the evacuation order to the surrounding communities. At
It's an
11:04 p.m.,
incident.
the Department of Emergency
it's
Management
it's an it's
issued
an
an
incident.
advisory regarding public health to the surrounding communities with direction on how best to
Actually, you know
proceed.
what? I'm gonna address this comment really fast, Mike. So, whenever there's a fire or anything else, it's an incident because yes, it's a fire, right? But there's also a hazard that comes with it. So it's not just one thing that you have to mitigate. The firefighters, yes, the firefighters will fight the fires. Hazmat will deal with the hazmat stuff, and but there's also evacuations, there's a police operations, there's everything, so it's an incident itself. So that's why it just the verbiage, it encompasses the response. So you would say fire response, right? But mitigating or managing incident that happened. Good morning, Nick. So the fire is it's still burning, there's still smoke coming out. Actually, you know what, I'm going to share some before we resume the press conference. So check this out. There is, let me move myself out of the way a little bit. um so these are this morning's pictures. So it's still some fire because they're letting it burn out and everything, but looks like the whole roof is all gone. And so this is the aerial view. Ooh, it's burned. Yeah, so there's still some smoke coming out, but they're saying that air quality is good thus far, or as good as it can be. And because it didn't even trigger any kind of alert system or anything for the air quality, and we were monitoring that yesterday as well, and it didn't look like anything harmful or toxic got detected, but they did put in a request for more sensitive equipment, like better testing equipment for the air quality. So hopefully today we'll be able to find out if the air quality is good. And that's another reason why they requested their equipment, is because they want to be able to lift this evacuations orders. And the reason the evacuations orders in place is because of this toxic release of hydrogen fluoride. Hence, Hence why I got my t-shirt today. Got gas. It's wordplay, right? It's my Seaburn t-shirt from back in the day. Yeah, right? So it's looking pretty gnarly. And if you if you would have come across this picture and you didn't know, for example, if you didn't know like what this kind of facility it is, it literally looks like a nuclear power plant, like a small scale nuclear power plant, like Chernobyl style. So he did mention, one of the guys during press conference, he did mention that this is um, like equivalent to the nuclear power plant meltdown and the 3 Mile Island, to the battery storage facilities, because it is the largest one in the world, and it's not Tesla, it's LG. So let's continue with the presser.
Mitigate the impacts of potential risks. Additionally, the county established a temporary evacuation point
Oh
at
yeah,
the
yeah,
Catskill Recreational Center.
and that might get
Later on that
affected. Hopefully
evening,
not.
as evacuees started to roll into the facility, we established, in partnership with American Red Cross, an overnight shelter in which there are
Nice.
approximately 37 residents, including one cat and 3 dogs. The county is proclaiming a local emergency at this time. And we greatly appreciate the support from our first responders,
Battery
those endeavor
thermal
to
runaway.
collaborate with us and provide the very needed information
Mm-hmm.
to make informed decisions and to protect life and property. At this juncture, we'll continue to support evacuees until such time that evacuation orders are lifted. Those will be reissued at the direction of the Sheriff's Office and the North County Fire Protection District through the alerting system that originally informed residents, which is Alert Monterey County. And if you have not done so yet, I highly encourage all residents and businesses to register at alertmontereycounty.org. As previously mentioned, you can find incident information at readymontereycounty.org. And once again, I really appreciate the patience and understanding of the residents of Moss Landing and Elkhorn Slough and their cooperation in these endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. And also, it's important to note that we have been in touch with our state and federal representatives, and a number of their staff people are here today with us to support this effort. At this particular point in time, I'd like to open up to questions. And what I'd ask of each of you is if when you have a question, please let's do it in an orderly fashion, and state your name and the organization, media agency that you represent, and also the subject matter so we can direct the right person to respond to that question. And I'll take the first question up here.
Is it hydrofluoride or is it hydrogen fluoride? And what is the impact of health on health of people having that
Whoa,
in the
her mic is
environment?
loud.
What I've Googled, and I know that that's not official, it doesn't sound very good.
Hmm.
And secondly, the monitors that you're using, are they capable of picking up that chemical?
Those FTs that we do study, we have
Okay, hold on a second before he answers this. So there's special foam that they can use with a CO2 powder, like a powder graphite. Well, it'll have carbon dioxide, powder graphite, and ABC dry chemicals, like, or maybe I think it's a sodium carbonate, or yeah, I think it's sodium carbonate as well. So it's you have to suffocate it, right? Even though you can still pour fire over top, water over top of it, once it's already on fire, and it's not gonna, it's not going to explode after it. Well, it actually it can, but a lot of firefighters do just suffocate it with a lot of water. Um, but you can't particularly put out the fire because you have to create a barrier. You have to, like, a thermal barrier. All right, let's get back. Oh, also sand. If you have a small lithium-ion batteries that caught on fire, I just doused a bunch of, like, sand or dirt on top of it, and then, because what you want to do is you want to suffocate it. All right.
we do have monitoring that can pick that up, and that we have been using our resources and outside resources to do so. Yeah, it's hydrogen fluoride, what it is. Is that correct? Yes. Is there any impact on health? I don't know that at this time, but we can certainly get all that information to you when we have it.
Okay, go right here.
For Mr. Ziegler.
Please use the microphone.
I have a related question for Mr. Ziegler, which is, are you also monitoring where the release of this chemical, how it's drifting, where it's going to, whether it may be reaching other communities outside of just here?
Yeah, so we perform plume studies before during
No.
construction of these sites, and so that's part of
No, you cannot do that.
we were assessing the event. Wind direction, because it has bearing on other equipment on the site, as well as the community. So yes, that's very much
Why the
what
mic
we're
is so
focused on.
low?
And that's why when we deploy our assets out to do monitoring, they're in certain locations that they're collecting the data where it potentially is drifting to.
Come on, my guy could have figured that out.
So we're hearing worst case scenario. What assurances did Vistra give local leaders, the community, that something like this would not happen? And if it did happen, the contingency plan to combat something like this?
As I said, Felix, safety is always our top priority. And it goes from the design of a project like this, collaboration with Chief Mendoza, which started back in 2019 or 2020 on the design, and then going through all of the required regulations and standards at the time, the California Fire Code, National Fire Protection Association 855 requirements for utility scale battery storage, UL 9540, 9540A, all those standards were met to build this project, and to by the designs we had at the time, all the way from prevention, mitigation, and detection, to how we could respond to any kind of overheating. So all that was built into that to build a safe project.
With that said, and then the plan B, plan A, should something like that happen,
Yeah.
to actually fight this fire, because I mean, what we saw last night, there was really no firefighting effort to, one, try to get this thing under control, and two, try to get it out.
There was a mitigation system in it, as Chief Mendoza has mentioned, that was water based. Part of what we will be doing is studying and investigating why that didn't work as designed, and that will be one of the many questions we will be going through.
This plan got caught on fire 3 times already.
Investigate it, and we will find out what the cause was.
Go ahead, Adriana Fredericks from KSMS.
Adriana Frederick Sutton, Univision. This is about the air quality. Is the recommendation for the residents in Moss Landing to still wear masks? People are concerned, the kids, the children. So, what is the recommendation about the quality of air right now, wearing masks or not? Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for the question, Adriana. Ed Moreno, Public Health Director, and Health Officer, Monterey County. I want to acknowledge that folks living in this community certainly should have some concern about the air quality, what's in the air, and whether or not it's going to impact their health, their friends, and their loved ones. In situations like this and with other fires, we don't initially know what the smoke may contain. So recommendations that come out of the Emergency Operations Center here at County of Monterey include general precautions intended to provide people enough information that should they choose to, they can take measures to protect themselves. So in a situation like this, early messaging that was provided by the Emergency Operations Center included letting people know that there are evacuation orders in place, which removes people from potential immediate exposure to smoke and any chemicals and particulates that might be in the smoke. Initial messaging also includes steps that people can take who are no longer in the evacuation zone, recognizing that the smoke does not stay within evacuation zones, it moves throughout the area. And so the recommendations are that anyone who sees smoke or smells smoke can choose to use an N95 respirator to potentially decrease the amount of particulate matter and smoke and chemicals that they breathe. In particular, anyone who has chronic medical conditions, particularly those involving the heart and the lungs, can choose to use an N95 to prevent a flare-up or exacerbation of their chronic disease symptoms. And also, if anyone believes that they are having symptoms related to smoke exposure, are encouraged to seek medical care or talk to their healthcare provider.
Or a lawyer.
Early on in an event that involves smoke and potential exposure.
That company's going to get some lawsuits slapped on them.
My colleague, Rick Encarnacion, who heads up the health department's hazardous materials team, to talk a little bit about the role of the health department in trying to ascertain what the potential chemicals are in smoke.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rick Encarnacion, Director of Environmental Health, County of Monterey. Thank you all for coming, and I also like to take the opportunity to thank the first responders, and also how we feel sorry for the community, that we're working hard for you. And my role in environmental health is to ensure that we coordinate with our state and local partners and federal partners to ensure that there's testing that is being done. So we actually have our local environmental health staff coordinating with VISTRA, coordinating with EPA, so that we get the right results, we gather the reports, and we're also working with the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessments, which is part of Cal EPA, which will help determine what the results of the.
Yeah, hold on a second. I'm gonna answer this. So yeah, the Megapack fire response, I'm sure it says stand back, stand by, no H2O, but it takes a large quantities of water to suffocate that fire for lithium-ion batteries, and yes, you can fight it with water. you can fight it with water, but they also lithium-ion batteries that are extinguished with water that will have like a history of reigniting. So that's why it's not recommended. But whenever firefighters get on scene, they just let it burn out, but then they will douse it with a large amounts of water to just suffocate that fire after it kind of almost burned down. So that way there's no other hotspots, no other residue.
Monitoring, yes. Thank you.
Nick Altenberg, Santa Cruz Local, Noticias Watsonville. I have a question for either of the Vistra folks about the previous fires that
Yeah,
came up.
probably. Well, we'll
So
see when
I saw that
environmental
Richard
comes
was
out with their
calling for
report.
a thorough investigation of this incident. But what about the last three fires? Were there investigations, and what did you learn?
Well, let me clarify what happened at the Vistra Moss Landing Energy Storage Facility. There was an overheating event that was due to water getting on batteries in September 2021. And then at the second phase, at what we call Moss 100, there was also a similar situation in which water that was in some couplings at the time got onto batteries and they overheated. There really was no fire. At that time, our company took both of the phases or buildings down, did a thorough investigation, cooperated with Chief Mendoza, Monterey County, various state regulatory agencies, everybody involved, and then learned what happened, made changes, made improvements, design additions, and uh, relayed all that information. It's on our website, what we did as far as what we learned, what happened, cause, remedies, and then we put the units back online, and they had been operating.
What happened with the third fire? Or
Well, the
incident?
third incident for Vistra would be what happened last night. What you may be referring to is the PG&E Elkhorn battery storage facility, which is adjacent to our site, which was in September of 2022.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna show you something right here. So this one is from um, fire. It's a let's see, International Fire Chiefs Association website, and is basically incident actions. There you go. So these are the incident actions of what to do during like battery fire or the Tesla fire. It says when attacking the vehicle fire, understanding that once the contents of the fire are extinguished, sustained suppression of the battery pack may be necessary. Use a large volume of water, such as multiple 1/3-inch hand lines, to suppress and cool the fire and the battery. Put the water on the burning surfaces. So large amount of water. So secure large, continuous, and sustainable water supply from one or more fire hydrants, multiple water tenders, 3,000 to 8,000 gallons. So when I say like really large, it's really large amount of water for just one battery, I would say. You're ready. Hopefully that answers some misconceptions that you can't really put water. It's like you have to like let it burn out, but the hot surfaces after it burned out, so it doesn't. But it does have a tendency to reignite. But that's really the only way to fight it, because foam is really expensive for the fire departments to use, and then they use it only in extreme. Like I'm sure this one they just like letting it burn out.
And my last question is, I heard that like your site has recently been expanded in 2023. Are you at all concerned that there was
You know,
higher
I
process
actually
safety
think so
in
too. Let me look it up. I think there is a
Phase
wildlife
three
preserve
is
around that area.
2023. It's 350 megawatts. Those batteries are in containers. They are at the site, and again, we have met all of the standards and the regulations required for operating a safe facility. We believe it's operating safely. Yes. Anything else?
One thing just to add, we don't know the root cause of this yet. So we're still working on that. Obviously, it's less than 24 hours old. So once we have that, then we can take a look. And we're a learning organization, and we certainly will make adjustments based on what those findings are. But we don't know what started this event yet.
Hi, Molly, Bay Area News Group. I'm curious what we're looking at in terms of damage to this facility and if there are any implications for the state's power grid.
So The facility is comprised of, in essence, four power plants. There's three battery plants, and then there's the combined cycle facility. The other three facility plants located on the site have, as of
I
today,
found some information.
once we get
Hold on. I found some information for the wildlife preserve. It's actually interesting because California Department of Official Wildlife website, right? It says Moss Landing Wildlife Area is closed due to a fire at Moss Landing Battery Storage Plant that started January 17th, which actually started January 16th. um, yesterday. The Moss Landing area has been evacuated due to hazardous air quality. The entire wildlife area will remain closed until emergency services determines that the air quality is no longer hazardous. Moss Landing Wildlife Area parking lot will remain closed. So this is the map. Let's see. So this is the map of the wildlife area. Let's see. Let's zoom in. Okay, so the wildlife area is up north. We'll say, we'll say where it says Moss Landing. This is where the power plant is at, and the wildlife is a little bit up north. So it's not in. It is. It wasn't a direct site of plume yesterday, but it's not like it's close enough. But hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't really affect um, much, but you never know until they get that tested, until they get the air quality and the soil tested. We won't know until later on. And I'm actually will be curious. Will be curious to read after action report after all of this happens, and then they're decided to release the after action. And I think it'll be pretty interesting to review that, like after any kind of incidents, just to actually see what happened on the ground, and then what the cause of it, the investigative practices, all that other everything.
Will be operational. The 1,000 megawatt gas CCGT, called combined cycle gas turbines, those were safely
Let me look that up.
as Chief Mendoza and his team put forth the evacuation efforts. Those are ready to go once we can get back on site. And regarding the other two batteries, they were not impacted. The entirety of this event was contained as of right now to our Moss 300 facility.
There's no concern about any larger statewide implications?
That's more of a question for another agency, but as far as where Vistra is with this site, there's no other impacts to us.
Damian Padilla with NBC Bay Area for Supervisor Church. Sir, it sounds like you stopped short of saying fix it or shut it down, or is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is we need to get to a point where we're understanding what's happened here. As Mr. Watson was pointing out, they followed all the standards, the safety protocols. That did not work. I mean, I am concerned. We've had 4 fires over there. There's existing operations over there from 2 different facilities. We have to make sure we're going ahead here that things are going to be safe. And we don't know the cause of this, as it was just pointed out. We have to get this under control. We have to try to identify what could have happened here. But what we have right now, and protocols and safety and standards, which are state of the art, I'm sure, but they failed. And that's why we need a real thorough investigation. And we're going to do things here at the county level, but we're not the state, we're not the federal government. This is a significant national issue, because this is a technology that's going that way.
So the stacks were built in those. Let's see. So these stacks right here. These stacks were built in 1964. So PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, began construction on the Moss Landing Power Plant 1949. The plant started commercial operation 1950. 2 new smokestacks were built in 64 to accommodate 2 additional units. The smokestacks were decommissioned in 1990s, and it says the plant was getting demolished and repurposed by Vista Energy, but the smokestacks will remain as a historical value, I guess. So the Moss Landing Power Plant is now site of the world's largest energy storage facility. Well, we should say was the world's largest energy storage facility, and it took state of California for the quite few steps back in in the green energy renewal. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Hi, Katie
Yeah,
Rodriguez with the
Punizione.
Monterey County Weekly. Just zooming out for a sec, given that we're on the heels of fires ravaging LA, and I know all of you have been fielding concerns from constituents and residents about the question of just how prepared are we to handle fires in particular. And so I guess my question is, in this like perfectly isolated event that followed these fires, what can we learn about how prepared we are, but then also about any gaps in response?
First of all, nice to see you. I apologize. We had to cancel our EOC tour today. Um, it's a bit difficult to compare what's happened here with a vegetation fire or wildfire. It's a bit like comparing apples and oranges, in particular due to the hazardous conditions and the hazardous materials within the Moss Landing lithium-ion battery energy storage system facility. And so I think it's more of an element of how prepared are we for any hazard. And that's really what our office looks at, is from an all hazards perspective, what can we as a county do to create capabilities and services that directly impact the community and meet their actual needs, not our perceived needs? And what do we do in between disasters to bolster that capability? Simultaneously, one of the things our office has taken on is a keen eye towards community resilience, which is not just focused on the individual, but at the community level as well. And so it is a multifaceted, multi-pronged approach to increasing resilience across the Monterey County operational area. So I think in layman's terms, some of the things that we look at are, how can we provide care and shelter services for people who are displaced? How can we accommodate their needs within that space while they're staying with us? How can we connect them to services beyond an emergency situation that will allow them to recover quickly, whether it be through social services or the health department? And then in terms of community capacity building, I think the last 7 years with 7 federal disasters has created a disaster fatigue, not just within Monterey County, but nationwide. And so we have to be particular about what we're asking the community to invest in and how much time we're asking them to continue to invest in emergency management. And so I think the tried and true, of course, is register for emergency alerts, stay informed, build a kit, make a plan. But on top of that, how can we shift our cultural paradigm for how we respond to emergencies? It is no longer acceptable for just nonprofits to respond. It's no longer acceptable for just the government agencies to respond. It's no longer acceptable for us to expect residents to be able to protect themselves. It really is a team effort. And so when we talk about bolstering capabilities,
I
we're
like
talking
her.
about every facet of the community, whether it's from mitigation of critical infrastructure and critical lifelines so that people can return quickly, that we're not rebuilding water systems and sewage systems post disaster, delaying the overall recovery and rebuilding efforts. It's talking about creating community emergency response teams so that people feel empowered and have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to protect themselves and their property, and then to turn to their neighbor and say, how can I help you?
Do you guys want
And
me
so
to try
that's
to
what
get
we're
an
talking
interview with
about
her later?
in the
Not
Department
not
of
right now,
Emergency
but
Management,
later,
is
maybe
to
like
create
within a month or
collaborative
so, like
interplay
after
services.
all of
So
this dies
we have a
down.
long way to
I
go
would
with
love to have her
the
on the
emergency
show.
management industry, as well as preparedness as a
If you
core
guys
component.
do want me to reach
Workforce
out to her
has
and then
drastically
see,
changed over time
yes,
depending
just
on the threats
type
that
in
we face
one
in
or
Monterey.
yes or
And
thumbs
so
up.
we, as
Yeah,
much like
I
Vistra,
can.
are a learning organization
I
and we
think we're
adapt to
connected on
lead and
LinkedIn.
to the changing environment. And so
I
as
would
we do
love to
that, we try to
have
shepherd the community
guest
with us as we
panels
navigate new
like
technologies, new
this,
threats, new
have
hazards,
them to talk
cascading
about the different
impacts, and
response, and
coupled
it'd be pretty
infrastructure
interesting.
systems. And we try to do that in a way that's feasible and cost effective for the residents.
And Felix, I'll get to you just a second. One other thing I'd like to ask is that it's imperative that our residents sign up for our alert and warning system, going to alertmontereycounty.org. We can't emphasize
Yeah,
this
hi,
enough.
Cram and
That's a
Crochet.
tool that
Yes, I'll
our
I'll
Department of Emergency
I'll reach
Management
out to
has, our
her.
Sheriff's Office has, to notify people timely and accurately. Felix Cortez from KSBW.
A question for Chair Lopez.
Yeah, hold on a second, really fast. I did reach out to one of my counterpart slash mentor, and he would love to be on the show. He's in LA right now, and we'll figure out the time and a date that I can have him on the show. He's a retired California State Fire Chief, so that'll be interesting to hear his perspective as well. So be prepared for that. So be prepared for more of the guests on the show.
Supervisor, you guys had the
She's
emergency
safe.
session this morning. A couple of questions. One, what was
I
the
don't
nature of that meeting? What came out of it? And then we're hearing a lot about preparation and then kind of reaction
Yeah, I
should
like
something like
her.
this happen. And SB 38 comes to mind. As far as you know, did the county ever receive any plan from Vistra? And your thoughts on that? And then again, what happened with today's closed session?
So in terms of the closed session, obviously closed sessions are closed sessions. You know, I can't report out what we had there, but I can show that it was all related to this event. And we're planning moving forward to have another session, I think early next week, to officially accept the document, the declaration of emergency. Part of that was the conversation we had this morning in general. Most of what we heard were updates. On the question about whether or not we got that document, I'd have to turn to staff to see if we have that on our records. Have I personally held that document? I have not. Dan?
Dan Green, KSBW. Any of you, was there active monitoring at the time of the incident? And when was it going on? And where were those monitors placed?
The monitoring occurred at 4 o'clock, which was after the start of the event.
So it continued through the event?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's continuing now, correct.
Vistra, sir, Mr. Watson, can you tell us, you submitted a worst case scenario to the Board of Supervisors in December of 2022. You did a model of what you call the worst case scenario. Will you provide us details of that model because they weren't in the presentation and in comparison to the numbers that came out during the incident?
If I recall what you're referring to, it was plume modeling that was done.
It wasn't just plume modeling, sir.
Well, it was plume modeling that looks at what could happen, as you say, in a worst case scenario, and where the emissions would go that would be dangerous to people.
Correct.
And that's what was presented to the board.
NDA. Buyers to sign NDA?
Consultant of ours
For what?
filed a report. I don't know if the report was made.
I didn't sign any NDA. I have a Tesla.
Showed what the worst situation would be, either in Moss 300.
Yeah, they should get tested. I think that's they requested that.
Will you provide us that full report?
Yes, if we can find it, I'd have to check back through exactly where it is and who has environmental. But
you understand, we want to compare your worst case scenario to what happened yesterday.
Okay.
So you will provide that for us?
I will look into where it is, where we have it, if it's something that we can provide.
I appreciate that.
Oh, the mega pack. Okay, mega pack.
Chief, can you tell us? You're the first
Okay,
fire official to give us
that
any
makes
information
sense.
on this fire, and the first time we heard from a fire official publicly is 17 hours after the incident. Is that satisfactory to you?
Mr. Green, we were fully engaged.
I know. I understand. No one?
Yeah, I can say that we were fully engaged. I did reach out to Felix. In fact, Felix reached out to me shortly after our scene, and he concurred that
the mega pack.
I did
That's
give him that
right.
information.
I heard about that.
I trusted that Felix would put it out.
He did.
Via his channel.
What you gave him was very small, but you couldn't give us anyone that we could ask questions of?
Like I said, I did provide information to Felix Cortez.
Supervisors, all of you, could you tell us your satisfaction level with the response so far? We'll start with Luis Alejo.
I'll defer to my colleague, Glenn Church.
We've heard from Glenn. You were the one that was there at the Board of Supervisors
He's
meeting.
like, I don't want to go. I don't want to talk.
Elected yet?
What are you gonna interrogate me for?
Every incident. I think our county has faced many disasters, many incidents. Certainly, if the information wasn't put out, we need to do better from all of us. But I think this was all hands approach because this is a unique type of fire disaster. I was in Sacramento, had to get here at midnight last night. this how important it is, though. But I think our team have worked very diligently trying to get all the right information out. But if there was an area that could be improved, we certainly want to do better for the public.
Okay, we have Assemblywoman Dawn Addis that would like to make a statement.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I just drove down from Sacramento this morning right now. Just walked in, and so I was excused from session to do that. Incredibly concerned. I do want to first and foremost thank our emergency response. I do want to say that I'm very glad that there has been no loss to human life, but that we are taking this incredibly
Which is
seriously.
really good. Really
What
good.
happened with
Yes.
SB 38? I'm a co-author on that. We want to know, did that report get submitted, and what is the status of that? We want
Gosh,
accountability
she's
and we want
nervous. You can
transparency
hear
for
it in
this
her
situation. And
voice.
certainly, our office is here to support, to communicate with the press, with the media, but also here for constituents. We're very aware that a number of people have been evacuated. 1,100 was the last count that I was given, and so I plan to go visit that evacuation center later today. But we want to be present and here and available for whatever that you need. Thank you. Yes.
Investigation into this thing?
Well, we certainly need transparency and accountability, and so we are looking at every single option to get that information.
All right. So that one more.
Ohlone Elementary School, teachers are reporting the smell of smoke and experiencing headaches. And my question is, are you monitoring this plume cloud as it goes towards the closest
Experiencing
elementary
headache?
school, which remains open? I know it's PBUSD, but it is in Monterey County.
I don't specifically know how far the monitoring is progressed this morning because I've been here. We've been doing that effective as of 06 this morning, doing the monitoring out in the community, but we will certainly find out.
Are you going to do your monitoring near Ohlone Elementary School? Or
When I find the location of that, we will certainly work with our teams to make sure that we are locating, at least monitoring over in that area.
Okay, so just to be clear, the responsibility for air monitoring is
it's collaborative. I mean, we've certainly taken two steps forward in understanding our responsibility in that part of it, but we're working very closely with Chief Mendoza and the EPA on collaboratively doing the monitoring. The only thing I can share is what was shared this morning with Chief Mendoza on the morning briefing is all of our air monitoring has come up zero. Zero. We haven't seen anything.
All right. Thank you very much for attending today. This will conclude our press conference. Please keep an eye on our website. We'll be posting information on readymontereycounty.org as well as through our social media channels. This broadcast was live streamed and it'll be available on YouTube to watch again. Thank you very much for coming.
Okay, and that's what we were watching it again. And there it is, folks. So yesterday, oh, by the way, yesterday we reached 2,000 views, and it was fantastic. The fact that we were able to reach that many people to actually talk about what is happening at the real time, and then getting as much information as we could from the ground. Let's see. All right, so it's an hour and 13 minutes. So it was about for an hour, the press conference. Nice. I did find, found this where Elon Musk tweeted, tweeted. I don't know even how to say that anymore. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so he exited to reiterate the legacy news headlines are false. This fire has nothing to do with Tesla, and our mega packs are operating well. Yeah, so it's not a Tesla battery fire. It is another company. It's Vista. And there are LG stacks. We actually had somebody here last night that used to work on this at the Moss Landing site at this energy facility, which is really interesting. He put in like really good knowledgeable information. So I guess next thing is going to be, thank God, gas. not the other guest, the other guest. So the next thing is going to be I will try to gather a list of um, I'll try to gather a list of guests that we can have here, little guest of panelists, and interview them. And I already have one yes, and then we'll just need to figure out the time and when, and then we'll be absolutely wonderful. So I will try to reach out to her. I'm sure right now she's extremely busy, so I'll reach out next week, and maybe she can comment on it, but I doubt she's going to be able to comment on it because the investigation will be out there. And let's see. Yeah, the batteries are called LG ESS. You can see on their site what they look like. Okay. I'll have a little bit more other guests list that I'm trying to reach out to. There's another guy. He's got Todd DeVoe, and he has his own podcast. It's Emergency Management Network podcast. So that could be a really good conversation that him and I can have and provide the really good content for you. Something very useful and something that is a little bit different from more like a management perspective. All right. Well, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's on a Friday afternoon, and I'm glad you got to stick around for this press conference. And remember, be yourself, stay true to yourself, love yourself, and your friendly emergency manager is out. Have a good day. Have a good Friday. Bye.